Mark Whitacre was suffering from bipolar disorder and now uses his notoriety to help raise awareness for the condition. And today, he joins us with his fascinating story. What a treat. Welcome to Primetime, Mark. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here today.
And Matt Damon plays you in The Informant.
Well, he's my identical twin,
And
so
I was thinking that. I was thinking that. Heck, I would love for him to play me. Are you kidding? And he's not even my gender. And that was a great movie, very entertaining, How, I have to ask you, so it's about this informant based on your story.
Yeah.
How close to the story did it? Was there a lot of fiction, or was it pretty close to your story?
Make it more of a dark comedy, they wanted to make it fun because bipolar disorder is a tragic situation. And then also wearing a wire for 3 years, undercover. I attempted suicide twice, so it had a lot of serious aspects to that case. So they wanted to make it more fun than that. They didn't want to really duplicate The Beautiful Mind. So that's why they made a kind of a dark comedy out of it. So in order to do that, they had to kind of fictionalize some parts in order to do that.
So tell the viewers that story, for the people who haven't seen the movie. Tell them about that part of your life first.
Okay. Well, basically, I was still am. 20 years later, I was in my 30s when this happened. I'm 55 years old now, and I was the highest level executive of a Fortune 500 company to ever turn whistleblower in U.S. history, which still holds true today. And my wife forced me to turn myself in. She didn't like what was going on at the company, and I kind of explained to her that we were involved with a price fixing scheme, how we were stealing from our own customers by forming an international cartel. And we were the 56th largest company in America and the 90th largest company in the world.
And what company was that?
That was a company called Archer Daniels Midland, ADM. Huge company, and a very ethical company today. This was 4 top executives and myself, one of those 4. So it wasn't 30,000 bad people, it was 4 people that were doing the wrong thing. And we were involved with this international price fixing scheme where we were stealing from our own customers through this price fixing. And my wife, when after I explained it to her within an hour, she forced me to turn myself in to the FBI. And the next day I would meet with them 6 o'clock in the morning. They'd shave my chest, they'd wire me up, and I'd wear a wire every day for 3 years.
And at the same time this was going on, because this is a big ordeal, this would cause anybody a lot of stress. You were also suffering from bipolar disorder.
Yeah, and undiagnosed and untreated at the time.
So you had no idea.
Yeah.
And how did that affect your job as an informant?
It really affected. I think as an informant, I think the FBI look at it now. I was their keynote speaker at the Quantico FBI Academy last year. So I mean, I've done several events for the FBI, so we're really a lot of mutual respect between us. And I think they feel now that I probably would have never wore a wire if I wasn't bipolar.
That's probably true, because it makes you more of a risk taker, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's why they feel, I mean, they've been trying to get me a full presidential pardon, and I think they feel like they may have taken advantage of someone that had a mental disorder at the time that got worse with stress, and wearing a wire was a lot of stress.
Sure. And but in that time that you were doing that, did you fabricate the story at all? Or I mean, because I've read a little bit about that.
Well, the tapes were the tapes, and everybody was convicted. The tapes played it. But when I knew I was going to be getting fired for being a whistleblower towards the end of wearing a wire for 3 years, I started taking money from the company.
So I'm visualizing Matt Damon now playing this role.
Because I knew I was going to lose my income, I was going to lose my livelihood for my family, and this was a huge company. I was the 4th highest ranked executive in that company. And I kind of started writing my own severance and started taking money from that company especially the last few months, kind of building my own severance.
Is that why because you also served time in prison? Was that why you went to prison?
I did. I went to prison for that part. I had full immunity on the case. I went to prison for the fraud.
Wow.
Yeah. But now they're trying to give me a full presidential pardon, and very supportive of the FBI today. There's numerous interviews by the FBI in the last couple of years on my website, markwhitacre.com, where they've totally turned full circle and very supportive, because they feel like being the mental situation I was in, I was making some very poor decisions at that time. Yeah. Because I was untreated and undiagnosed at that time.
So when did you find out you did have bipolar disorder?
Well, I attempted suicide after wearing a wire for 3 years. I attempted suicide. I was fired from our company, and it was a company that I loved, and I was divisional president of out of 30,000 employees. I was a very high-ranked executive. So I attempted suicide, and that's when I was hospitalized and diagnosed for bipolar. I was age 38 at that time, so that means I went from 0 to 38.
Wow.
Undiagnosed and untreated. And that situation of being undercover for 3 years definitely made it worse. the stress of that exacerbated
and it can kick it in. And
kicked it in a lot
so
different levels.
So was it when you were in prison that they diagnosed you and got you
before
the proper
prison.
medication?
That was before prison. Before prison.
So then when you served, you were already
right.
healthy and
right.
And okay, so now you're doing a lot of good in your life, and you're helping raise awareness about bipolar disorder as well. Talk about that.
Well, bipolar is a horrific disease, and there's over 25% of our population suffer from mental illness. It's actually 26%, so more than 1 out of 4 suffer from some kind of mental illness. And there's a study that was done in 2011 called the 11 Nation study, where they looked around the world the incidence of bipolar. In America was 4.4% of the population, so 4 people out of every 100. And we were the highest of any country. India was the lowest at 0.7%. So bipolar, especially in this country, with the stresses that we go through.
It can really kick it up.
Yeah, it does. It exacerbates it. It exacerbates it much more. So it is a horrible disease, and suicide is a very common outcome of bipolar disorder. And even a lot of our children in our schools have it. Look what happened to this whole Sandy Hook. I think that's creating a lot of attention around mental illness right now because of that incident that happened on December 14th in Connecticut.
Yeah, and he had some sort of psychosis accompanied with that. So, I mean, there's just so many different degrees of bipolar, but you want to get help, and the help is available. Let's pull up the website. Let's talk about this organization. You're involved with this organization, right?
That's right. I'm speaking for them tomorrow. Actually, speaking for them tomorrow.
The International Bipolar Foundation. Great, great foundation. Talk about that for a little bit.
It's a wonderful organization. Muffy Walker is the president of that organization. And what that organization does, it actually increases research and trying to help resolve issues of bipolar and try to help how it can be treated better and even maybe prevented, but especially being treated better. But what really I think really even better known for is bringing recognition to it to help educate the public, because there's such a stigma around mental illnesses. And they're trying to say that if a family 5 or 6 people, somebody in that family is going to have a mental illness, and bipolar is one of the possibilities.
Better get used to it, and it's okay. And there's a lot of celebrities that are coming out and speaking out now too.
Right, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Right. And let's talk about you. I mean, number one, there shouldn't be a stigma, and people should have resources to get help, and families stick together, and friends, and help each other, right? And we have the resources with the foundation. But let's talk about what you're doing now, because you had this adventurous life, let's put it that way. You went to prison, you came out, and now you're currently the Chief Operating Officer and President of Operations at Cypress Systems.
Yeah,
talk about that. That's a great story.
It's a biotechnology company. I got hired 6 years ago right after I was released from prison. I'm a PhD biochemist from Cornell. I graduated from Cornell with my PhD. And we're involved with cancer research, so I'm very involved with that and blessed to get that kind of job. I'm very fortunate, especially after prison. I never dreamed that I'd be able to get back in my field after prison and get a second chance like that. The divorce rate's 99% if you serve 5 years and longer in prison. My wife and I are celebrating our 34th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
This year, and been together since she was in 7th grade and I was in 8th grade.
Congratulations.
So we survived the whole ordeal, which is statistics weren't in our favor.
You got a good woman there.
Yeah. So I have a chance to go around and talk about bipolar. I have a chance to go around and talk about business ethics at business schools and so on, and about doing the right thing and the cost of what happens if you don't do the right thing in business, kind of a real life case of what not to do. And I do a lot with the Christian Businessmen Connection, CBMC, in terms of a lot of their events, especially on redemption and second chances, with the second chance I've had. So really been very fortunate to have a second chance in society.
And you're the poster boy for second chances, but let me tell you folks, not everybody gets a movie made after them, right? I mean, hello, with Matt Damon starring. Are you kidding? I don't know. How's that feel?
Well, he's a very nice guy. He's very down to earth, and I think he did a good job in terms. They weren't trying to make fun of bipolar, but they tried to make the movie a little more fun than what a normal bipolar or mental illness movie would be like, and I think he did a good job.
The Informant, you can still rent it, right? It's great,
absolutely.
Great movie. If you haven't seen it, do rent it. Mark, thank you so much. Is there something you'd like to add, tell the viewers before we
there's also a very accurate Discovery Channel documentary, which is on my website called markwhitacre.com, that has the real FBI agents, my wife and all the real people involved on there. So
cool. I will check that out. Thank you, Mark, so much for joining us on PrimeTime. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for helping everybody, the public. Thank you for telling your story.
Thank you. I appreciate it.